Lucy Jones making the point to say that there is a 5% chance of something bigger in the next few days.
But that feeling, especially that initial feeling, is scary. And you talked about your heart racing. We felt that way as well. And we now are joined live by the queen of earthquakes, the one voice that everybody wants to hear whenever this happens.
Oh, my goodness. Thank goodness.
The voice who makes us all feel better, or sometimes makes us feel worse, depending on the information. Dr. Lucy Jones joining us live. Thanks so much for taking time to be with us. We really appreciate that. And for people that may just be tuning in, I know you just mentioned this at the top of your other briefing, but sort of the most important thing that we should know about this earthquake.
That this is a pretty ordinary California experience, and don't think it's something way out of the ordinary. It's a magnitude 4.6. It's associated, at least very close to, a well-known fault called the Malibu Coast Fault. That fault is pushing up the Santa Monica Mountains. That's the reason those mountains are there. And it's behaving much like we expected. Did you have a magnitude 4.6, you expect to see aftershocks. And we are seeing quite a few aftershocks. It's rather on the high side. It's a very robust sequence of aftershocks. Looks like we've had, between 15 and 20 already, mostly around magnitude 2.
Does that tell you anything, the fact that the aftershocks are more robust?
No, it says when we've studied the distribution of aftershocks, we see this wide range, like a factor of 1,000 between the smallest and the biggest aftershock sequences. And this is on the higher side, not really extreme, but also we haven't seen a big difference in what that means about the event. It does have, like every earthquake in California, some probability of being followed by an aftershock that's bigger than the first one, which would then require us to rename the first one and call it a foreshock, and the second, the triggered larger earthquake would become the main shock. But there's nothing about foreshocks that look different than any other earthquake. So until something else happens, we can't say whether it'll be a foreshock or not.
I wanted to follow up because we had you on live during that sort of Q&A session with Caltech. There was a last question that was sent in about this being a quiet period for California, and you didn't quite understand it. And that was from us here, because my question to you is, you may recall January 1st when we had the 4.1 quake, you were kind enough, you jumped on the air with me. You did an interview with me, and you talked about the fact that California is in a quiet period right now. So my question to you is, given that now here we are again with a 4.6, obviously there's been others in the 4s since January the 1st, are we still in a quiet period? What does that mean?
Probably not, but it's 1 month isn't enough time to do the statistics. When you're a random distribution means sometimes you have clusters and sometimes you don't. Right? And so if you average 1 magnitude 4 a month across Southern California and you get 4 in 5 weeks, that's more than the long-term average, but it's not yet, you can't really tell whether or not it's shifted. The quiet period, we've been seeing more like 5 magnitude 4s in a year. So this suggests that we're starting to move out of it, but these are long-term patterns, so we'll need to see whether or not it sticks around. But yeah, 4 magnitude 4s in 5 weeks is more than we've had, especially in the last decade or two, but go back to the 80s, and we tended to see this quite a bit more often.
You know, we've spent a lot of time and money investing in an early earthquake warning system, which you've been a part of creating. Can you talk about how that worked for you, what we know about how it worked today, and maybe for people that are interested in that, how they can sign up for it?
Okay, so the earthquake early warning system is based on the seismic network that we've always had for recording these earthquakes. We've taken the instruments that I've been part of working with for the last several decades, and with modern computer technology, turn the information around so quickly that we're getting the information that the earthquake's begun before the shaking actually gets to some more distant sites. It's now become pretty solid. I think it had, that really quick estimate. So the very, very first magnitude you see, that's much less accurate because we're doing it off just a couple seconds of the earthquake, and the earthquake might take longer than that to happen. So like there was first a 4.7 or 4.8, I saw different things going by, and it turned out to be a 4.6. It's produced by, the signal is produced by the U.S. Geological Survey. but they don't themselves distribute it through any sort of app. You have to then sign up for ways to get it. If you have an Android phone, it's actually native to the Android phones. On an Apple phone, you need to download an app. There's one that's called MyShake that's been sponsored by the California Office of Emergency Services that can get you that information. You can also, I think, sign up for warnings to come in through computer systems, but I'm not exactly sure how all of that works.